Sixth grade, hello. We're going to be learning about Greek mythology now that we have begun chapter 15. So, this is going to be our last chapter of sixth grade social studies. Isn't that exciting? Yes, okay. Jokes, that's right. Let me think. What does Zeus wear under his clothes? Thunderwear. What was Zeus's car called? Grease lightning. When Zeus was in medical school, what was his specialty? Surgery. Oh man. All right, one more. Why did Zeus shut off the gas when a goddess was out for a jog? Because Demeter was running. Okay, enough. Too funny. Those are some of my best jokes. All right, we're going to be covering Greek culture in this chapter, and Greek culture is also going to include religion and their artistic achievements and their educational system. So we're not talking about any specific. It's a telemarketer. I'm going to ignore it. So where was I? Oh yeah, we're not covering any specific city-state in this lesson. Instead, what we're doing is oh my gosh, telemarketer. We're not covering any specific city-state in this lesson. Instead, what we're doing is we're talking about the Greek city-states in general. So we're going to treat Greece like it's unified, or that's how it's going to seem. Keep in mind, though, Greece was never unified under any single city-state. All right. Okay, so let's talk about Greek mythology and religion first. So slide 1. And by the way, we're going to be covering the period of Greece from 700 BC all the way to 300 BC, so 400 years here. All right, so for the Greeks, religion was a really important aspect of their culture. And even though the Greek city-states were not united, religion was one of the things that you could find consistently in all of the Greek city-states. So all Greeks spoke the same language. Didn't matter which city-state you lived in, you spoke the same language as all your fellow Greeks. Number 2, Greeks had a shared identity around stories that were told. So the poems of Homer and Aesop's fables, these would be found in all of the city-states. They're a big part of many of the city-states' cultures. And of course, the main thing that unites the Greek city-states are their shared religious beliefs. So pretty much all of Greece, all the city-states believed more or less the same things about all of their gods and deities and demigods. Right? So if you were in ancient Greece, it really didn't matter if you were in Argos or Athens or Sparta. Whatever city-state you were in, you would always be around people who spoke the Greek language, who had a shared access to like the stories of Homer and Aesop's fables and others like that. And then everyone would have the same religious beliefs as well. All right, so let's get to the basics. The Greeks were polytheists. They believed in many gods, right? We already know this. Likewise, they believe that the gods interact with them on a regular basis. Right? So they're not deists. Deists are people who believe that God or gods exist, but that they leave human beings alone. Right? Greeks were not deists. They were polytheists who believe that their gods interact with them. So their gods would be responsible for causing things like earthquakes and storms and volcanoes and disease and famine and weather. Um, they would also use their belief in the gods to ask and answer questions about how the world was created and what happens after people die and things like that. So all of these are similar to what we've seen in other civilizations. In one way, though, Greek religious beliefs were unique. In pretty much all the other ancient civilizations we've studied that are polytheistic, the deities, the gods, and the goddesses um, are associated with animals, right? So in ancient Egypt, for example, we have a lot of gods and goddesses that have the bodies of human beings and heads of animals. Um, in ancient India, the cultures of ancient India, uh, the gods and goddesses there likewise have animal body parts that are like attached to their bodies, right? Um, Greeks believed that their gods and goddesses took the form of regular people, just like really like muscular, good-looking people, I guess, right? I was going to make a joke, but I'm not going to. You guys could probably guess what I was going to say, but I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it. You can think it, but I'm not going to say it. Um, so, yeah, Greek gods and goddesses were not like monsters. They're not human animal hybrids. Instead, they're basically just very muscular, athletic, attractive human beings. That's how they were depicted. So here you can see an image of the god Poseidon here. This is the god of the sea. Um, and the Greeks believed he interacted with them by controlling things like storms at sea and sea currents and sea travel. Um, and in the story of the Odyssey, it's Poseidon who's the main antagonist to Odysseus. While Odysseus is trying to get home, Poseidon is stopping him. He's making it hard for that to happen. So yeah, Greek gods are present in a lot of Greek literature, like the Odyssey, for example. All right. What else do Greeks believe about their gods and goddesses? Well, they believe that Mount Olympus, which is the largest mountain on the Greek peninsula, is the home of their gods and goddesses. So Greeks believed that all their gods and goddesses lived at the top of Mount Olympus. And so this mountain was a very important part of Greek culture and Greek religious belief, right? Because people could say, they could look at the mountain and believe that if they went to the top of the mountain, they would come into contact with Greek gods and goddesses, right? So this made the gods and goddesses seem very real to them. So there are two types of Greek gods and goddesses. They're called major and minor deities, right? So the major ones are listed on page 415. Minor deities are gods and goddesses who don't have as much mythology surrounding them. So an example of minor deities would be the Muses, for example. Hercules would be a minor deity. He has a lot of mythology around him, though. But minor deities are gods and goddesses who either don't have a lot of stories about them or who, like Hercules, are half human, right? So a half human god or goddess we would call a demigod, right? That means a partial god. Also, another thing you need to know about Greek gods and goddesses that kind of makes them unique is they're a lot like human beings in that they have flaws, and the Greeks are very open about the flaws that their gods have, right? So these Greek gods and goddesses have anger issues, they have issues with greed and lust and vanity. They always want revenge on each other and on human beings that disrespect them. So I've included on this slide a list of all of the major Greek gods and goddesses: Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Apollo, Ares, Artemis, Aphrodite, Demeter, Athena. I'm guessing a lot of you already know who most of these gods or goddesses are, because in our culture in the United States, we have a lot of fiction in TV and in like books that you guys read that have stories where these gods and goddesses are characters, right? So Zeus, everybody knows, is the supreme god of the ancient Greeks. He's the god of thunder. He's also the god of the sky and the god of rain. Right? And you can go through this list and look at the other 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, the other 9 major Greek gods and goddesses. All right, I do want to zoom in on one particular goddess, Athena, who was ancient Greece's favorite deity. She is the goddess of war, reason, and the arts. And she's also the goddess of Athens. Athens is named after Athena. She is portrayed as this strong, intelligent, beautiful warrior goddess. And she is the protector of Greek city-states. Right? So Greek soldiers actually believed that Athena fought alongside them in battle. Right? So yeah, she's the protector goddess. Because she's also the goddess of war, reason, and the arts. This also means that she was involved in a lot of aspects of Greek life that were very important to the ancient Greeks. Right? And so there's a myth about how, for example, Athena gave the ancient Greeks an olive tree. Right? And if you're involved in ancient Greece, you have a lot of contact with olive oil and olive products. So the olive tree would have been a very important gift to have received from Athena. Athena is also considered to be very wise, although she does have a temper. And then, all right, one more quick note, minor gods. So I gave the example of the Muses. The Muses are 9 sister goddesses who inspire artists and writers and painters and poets and people like that. There's another minor god called Eros, or Eros. Eros is the god of love, right, Scarlett? Right? Look, Scarlett's like looking at me. She's like, oh, love. Mr. Bruce is talking about love. All right, almost out of time for this video, so I will end there. And tomorrow we'll learn more about Greek mythology and